Hey guys, we're back. This time we got another Asking for Trobils expansion, the Companions expansion, to look at from Breaking Games. This one adds traveling companions that you can pick up and carry around the galaxy, giving you bonuses along the way and eventually dropping them off for a big payout in the end. And we're going to get right in and take a look. So first off, we have our rulebook here, and I love this. This is actually the companionship, and that's where you're going to be getting these guys from. On the first page here, we have our little background story and the new section you're going to be adding to the board, as well as the rest of the components. We have our setup here, and then the new expansion setup itself, but actually both of those apply because you have to change the base game slightly. How the friendship works when you go there, and the new action icon, because you don't actually land there, you stop and then immediately pick your ship back up. And then how to use the cards and the little board that goes with them, which we'll show you. And then how you get rid of your companions. What you do with the shards. And then a variant for chaos companions, which I think are mixed in right now, so we'll show them as well. And then playing it with the Troublemakers expansion. And then on the back there's a cool how to teach example. I like that they're doing these on these expansions. They come in really handy. So next thing on top here, we have our board segment. We're going to slide this down. The board actually comes unassembled. You have the middle piece here, two end pieces here. They snap together like a puzzle. And this adds a whole new section around the edge of your board. This fits right around the edge of the main board. Next thing we have are our new shards. These are going to be the new resource that this expansion introduces. So it's a completely new resource to the game, and we'll have a bunch of different ways to get and use it in this. Next we have the player boards, and everybody's going to get one of these. On this side is where your companion goes, on this side is where your shard card goes, and then this little dial turns to show the active one. I wish the dial part itself, especially since it's got these little pointy bits on the end, I wish that had been made out of plastic. We'll see how well the cardboard holds up, but it should hold up. And there's a little lip in there to slide in the sleeved or your cards. Question if they're going to still fit in there when they're sleeved. Let's see how much room there is. It looks like there's plenty, because you got some wiggle room here. So it should be able to hold sleeved cards. We'll have to see. I haven't had around to sleeving mine yet. The other thing was these center axles here are a little plastic push pin that you have to put through. These come unassembled. And you push this pin through and then you put the dial on. Some of these were not perfectly centered. You can see this is kind of off a little bit here, but the hole itself goes through, I think, 2 or 3 different layers of cardboard, at least 2. They were not centered on a couple of mine, and pushing those pins through was really difficult on a couple. Managed to get them all in there though, but that's something to keep in mind when you're assembling yours. I found it easier to go in through the back. I don't know if that makes a difference. And then put the cap on the front side. They may be different for you. You might find an easier or better way to do it. But you get a stack of these for each of your players. There is a lot of them. Move that off those because we're going to need those later. So there's like 7 of those in total for multiple players. We're going to move all this stuff down so we can get more on the screen here. Next thing we have are some victory point tokens. Various things you do are going to get you additional victory points, and these are how you're going to keep track of those. zoom out a little bit here because everything's going off the page. Next, we have these tarot size cards, and there's two different ones. You have your companion cards and your shard cards. You also have your normal companions and then the chaos companions. I think mine are all mixed in here still. So you can choose to play without the chaos companions. Some of their perks may tend to be negatives on there, but they're all fun characters. And they all reference some sort of sci-fi type character. Most of them are pretty easily recognizable. The quotes on some of their cards are great as well. And there is a ton of them to choose between. And there you can see, I think it's the only one like that, but there is a normal and a chaos of Mr. Speck. There's the Mirror Universe one with the goatee. But yeah, the companion cards are great. They're going to go on each of these locations off to the side like this. And then you're going to have a deck of them off to the side. Then you have our shard cards. And the shard cards are basically the bonuses that are going to go with those cards. And again, these are going to go here. And as well have a deck off to the side. And the way this works is that when you come to this location, to the companion ship, you're going to put your ship here, and you get a choice. You can take this first one and be done with it. You can take either of these two, but each time you pick one, you have to put resources on the one that you skip. You would have your other resources, your carrots, your coal, that kind of thing. But you put one on each one that you skip. So if you wanted this one, you would have to put one here and one here. And after you take your combination, so you take this one here, these are going to slide down to the left, and a new combination will come out on the end here. So it incentivizes you to take the one on this side, otherwise you have to pay the resources, but it also makes these completely random how they're going to come up too, which is kind of neat. Taking the one on the left is always free for action for coming here, and then you're paying after that. If you claim one that has a resource on it, so people keep skipping this one, and each time they're going to stack more and more resources on it, when somebody finally does claim it, they get all of those resources. Once you have your combination, you're going to slot them into your board like this, and then you're going to set this dial to the number 1 position here. When you're in this location, you're subject to this quirk over here, so you can no longer gain credits from connections. So that's kind of a bad detriment until you earn yourself one of the new shards. Once you've done that, you put it on this location. This will upgrade to the 2nd level. When you're on the 2nd level, over here, now when you gain credits, you gain one less. And so, as you keep them longer and these build up, the quirks get worse and worse, and you get more and more penalized. However, you get more and more shards built up on this side. The other thing you're going to want to know is up here in the corner. This is when they trigger. So in this case, whenever you bump someone, you gain the equivalent of what's over here. This one I'm not positive on. I want to say you're going to gain carrots equal to the shards. I'm going to have to look that up because I'm not positive on that. Most of them just have a single, when you visit the asteroid belt, you're going to gain a shard. So that one's interesting. I'll have to check that on. So the way to get rid of your companion is that at any point at the end of your turn, you can choose to abandon your companion. And you discard the companion and the shards card. And you're going to move all the shards that are on here to your supply. Can't spend the shards until they've been removed from the card. So anything on the card you still can't use. So you got to get rid of the companion in order to get those into your supply. Then you can start spending those. The other option is to drop them off at their location. So every card here has a location of where they want to go. And then based on the level you're currently at, so if you're still at level 1 here, there is no reward for dropping them off. At level 2, you get to pick up this ship as a reward for dropping them off. And at level 3, you're actually going to get a free companion for dropping them off at that location. So that's kind of cool. That varies from card to card. Everyone has different rewards. So in this case, if you drop them off at level 1, you're going to get a credit. If you drop them off at level 2, you're going to get 2 crystals. And if you drop them off at level 3, you're going to get the victory points. You only get the ones that you have completed or lower. So in this case, if you were in this location, but there was only 1 shard on here, you would not get the free companion because you need both of those full in order to get that. But you would still get to pick up the ship. On other ones, like in this case, if you were up here and you hadn't fulfilled this goal, you would not get the victory points. However, you would get the 2 crystals and the coin. So it's kind of a little like engine building mechanic there, building up what you're going to get for them. But at the same time, the higher this goes, the more damaging the quirks are to you. So it's an interesting little game of mix and match on there of how you want to do it. So the real question comes down to in this is, why do you want the shards resource? And they have multiple uses now. The first of which is that at the end of the game, each one of these you have is worth an additional victory point. So right there, they're worth points to stockpile up. So that alone makes them worth getting. However, the last thing that comes with the expansion is a new set of Trobil cards. These new Trobil cards have different requirements for capturing them. So in this case, you need 3 shards to capture these guys. 4 shards to capture those guys. And there's a handful of them mixed in here. In this case, you need a whole bunch of things, including shards to capture them. So when you're playing with this expansion, you're going to be using this deck of Trobil cards in place of the one that comes in the base game. You also have some new city cards in here, so you have new city bonuses, which is going to change up your scoring at the end of the game and add some variety to the outcomes of your games. I think the only other thing that I didn't mention was that on these Chaos Companions, they do not have a top quirk. So when you put them on their board and you give them a shard card like this, you're not going to start at level 1. You start right here. Well, they're level 1. So you're going to skip. This whole line is ignored. You do not get this reward. You do not count those shards. And you count them just like that. However, when they come into play, all of them have this little quirk here that's going to go off automatically just for picking them up. And these can pretty much benefit everyone, which is part of the chaos thing to them. So that's worth keeping in mind. If you're playing with those are optional. So that gives you one little bit of like a modular nature to this. You can choose to play with or without the Chaos Companion, so that is totally up to you. I personally like to play with them. I think they're fun. And everything else in this, though, is an all or nothing. You have to play with the new objectives if you're playing with the variant, the expansion here. I guess you could not play with them, but the shards would have less value. They're just literally worth points at that point. So at least having these in there gives you a use for these, aside from collecting victory points at the end. And of course, we have the box insert here. Does what it needs to. There's an insert for the smaller cards, the larger cards, all of the Shipboards barely fit in here. You have to stagger them, flip one face up, one face down to get them to fit in there really good, alternating where the dials are from side to side as you flip them so that they fit in there neat. And even then, they go right to the top. So they could have made that a little bit deeper, I think. They left room at the top here, you can see, for the punch boards. Maybe have a little lid lift when you ship the game, and then after the punch boards are out of there, that could have dropped down. That's just me. Overall, though, they still function just fine. Your tokens will fit in here just fine. And the crystals, they originally had the crystals on top of the cards, and I noticed a couple of mine have little dents in the top of the card where the bag of crystals was sitting. So I started storing mine over on this side. I'm going to store everything else different once I combine everything here soon. But these boxes were made to go inside of the big orange box. So you can actually take this entire thing and it slides right into that storage solution. I have a 3D printed storage solution myself, so I'm probably going to figure something out for that. It doesn't support this expansion yet, but I believe they're making it. So as soon as the guy gets his copy. So can't wait for that, and I'll post something on the channel when that is ready. But yeah, that's a look at everything that comes with the Asking for Trobils companion expansion. It is an interesting add-on to the game. I think it's a little more complicated than the Troublemakers one. The fact that you bid kind of on the ones that you get, they mix and match, so these change every time you play, the combinations that come up. There's enough in the stack that I don't think, especially if you're playing with the Chaos ones, I don't think you're going to go through them, so you're going to see different ones from game to game based on how many you go through. And then the whole penalties that you get while you're stocking up these resources, that kind of aspect's neat. And then you get the free resources when you trade them in. It's just a neat little combo. I like the way it works. It's not overly complicated, but it does add something a little bit more that you can add or not add to your game. And maybe for, one game you play, you want to use these. One game you want to play, you want to use the Troublemakers. One game you want to use both. So I like that you can mix and match and add them in when you feel like it. Altogether, I think it's a pretty fun little expansion. And the character references in the companions are great. And I think I got almost every single one. There were maybe 2 in there I wasn't sure on the reference to. But for the most part, yeah, they're pretty obvious who they are and what they reference. And the quotes on the cards are amazing. And it's just fun to flip through just to look at them and read them too. The artwork's cute. And I think it's an interesting addition to the game that if you're a fan of Asking for Trobils, you're definitely going to be interested in at least giving it a try. It may add too much new complexity to it for you, and that's okay. It's worth trying just to see if you like. If you do like it, I think you'll have a lot of fun with it, though. Some people like Asking for Trobils because it's a very simple, basic game to play and to teach and to learn, and this might add just a little bit too much to it, and it might not be for them. I do love the little how to teach on the back. I think it does an excellent job of going through the basics of the rules and showing you how to do things and to integrate this into your game. Overall, though, I think it's a pretty interesting expansion. I like what it adds to the game. It's not something I use every game, especially with newer players. I will leave this out. I may use Troublemakers, but not this one necessarily, because I think it adds a little bit more to learn and do on top of the base game. But once somebody's familiar with the base game, I have no problem mixing all this in and going through from there. Well, that's going to wrap it up for our look at the Asking for Trobils companion expansion. I hope it helps you decide if it is something worth adding to your game. Let me know down in the comments if I missed anything or what your thoughts are on it. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.